Ooh. I want to love you. Hey, shalom, everybody. How y'all doing? Happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath, everybody. What's up? Welcome back to part 26. This is welcome back to Reading with Shiloh. This is part 26, man. I'm Shiloh. I'm out y'all. I'm out y'all. What's the business? What it is, what it ain't, what we can and what we can't, baby. I'm out y'all. Ready to read. Ready to plow my way on through to the end of the book, man. We're here for part 26 of the Black Jacobins, the Toussaint Louverture and the San Domingo Revolution by C.L.R. James. Open this one. Get some cool air here. By C.L.R. James, man. We're almost to the end of the book, so we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing and try to finish strong. Try to finish strong, man. We're going to read a good hour today. A good hour. We're in chapter 13, the War of Independence. Yeah, the War of Independence. And they just told them, y'all niggas gonna be slaves again. Bonaparte didn't put the decree out to bring slavery back. So I think it's about to get hectic down there in Haiti. It was already stuff going on in Guadeloupe. They was bringing slaves over from Guadeloupe, and they was jumping off the boat. And jumped off the boat and swam the shore to tell their people, man, they got us. They trying to put us back in slavery. So it's time to fight for your life and your right for liberty. But, man, hey, I'm up. Hey, bad dreams woke me up. So I'm going to get up, man. I'm going to get up and read. I'm going to get up and read. I don't know if that's what that means for me to get up and read, but I'm going to get up and read, man. I was in a horror movie. Oh, Lord. Oh, I couldn't get away. It was zombies. Not zombies. It was worse than zombies. It was spitting monsters. And shit on me. Trying to get me. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing wonderful on this Sabbath, man. I hope everybody's doing good. And as long as you have breath to breathe, then you have all that you need to succeed. I'd like to thank everybody who has been subscribing, man. I'm 4 away. I'm 4 away from 1,000 subscribers, man. I appreciate it. But we're going to keep pushing. We're going to pass that now. 1,000. I'll probably go live when I hit the 1,000. But we're going to keep pushing past that thing, man. We got to keep moving, man. Got to keep moving. Up, and away. So we can read some more. And learn some more. And do some more, man. Grow some more. Be better. Better. Since this is a Sabbath, though, I'm not going to do no workout today. Not for real. We'll do a little light something. Since it's a Sabbath. And we'll get right into reading. Shalom, everybody. How y'all doing? Welcome to Reading with Shiloh, baby. I'm out here. Nah, we're not reading scriptures right now, baby. We're going to finish diving into part 26 of this book, The Black Jacobins. We almost finished with the book. We're almost finished. We're on the ass end. We're on the ass in the book, man. We're almost at X marks the spot. We got about 20 pages. Yeah, about 20 pages left to finish the book. 20 pages to finish chapter 13. Then we have the appendix left to read, which is about 20 pages as well. And then the book will be assassinated. Mission complete. And we can move on to the next book. I'll be, after I finish, depending on how I feel, after I finish reading this, then I'll cut this live off. And I'll start the scriptures with Rising Scripts, and we'll pick back up in First Maccabees. I'll give you a script right quick. You want a script? Yeah, I'll give you a script. Right quick. Oh, Lord, I broke my shit. I'll give you a scripture, man, since you want one. I'll oblige you. The book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. Revelations 22:14. There you go. Script. Keep the commandments, baby. Keep the commandments. So that way you may have right to the tree of life. Keep the commandments. But yeah, I'll be getting into rising scripts right after this. As long as I'm filling up for it, I'll jump into rising scripts. And like I said, continue off in First Maccabees, chapters 5 through 8, I believe. I think it is, or 9 through 13, something like that. I'll figure it out. Shit. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing good, man. I hope everybody's doing good. Let me see what I got. I broke my backpack. I was trying to fix my zipper. All right, let's get it going, man. We're gonna work our body, work our mind, work our body. But since it's the Sabbath, man, since it's the Sabbath, I'm not gonna do my 500 things that I've been doing. So we're just gonna do, I'm gonna do 25 little things, and then we're gonna get to reading, man. So bring your asses on and let's go ahead and get ready. Get ready to read about Toussaint Louverture and the San Domingo Revolution. Oh man, hopefully they're about to fight because slavery trying to come back. Hopefully they're about to fight. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I should have did some stretching. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That's good. That's it for today. That's it for right now. It's a Sabbath. It's a Sabbath. All right, man. Let's get it. Let's get it. The Black Jacobins, part 26. Part 26 of the book. Chapter 13 of the Black Jacobins, the Toussaint Louverture and the San Domingo Revolution by C.L.R. James, the sea of pages that has been laid before us. Shalom, John. Shalom. Shalom. Let's pick up where we left off. If you weren't here for the other videos, if you haven't watched the other videos, if you haven't caught up with the reading, Bonaparte just decreed that slavery is back. Slavery has started in Richpince, started slavery again in Guadalupe. Like I was saying, they was trying to push it over to Haiti, and Leclerc, who was in charge of Haiti from Bonaparte at that time, was lying his ass off in his letters to Bonaparte. And they were trying to, he was trying to get some more men because his men was dying of yellow fever. They was beating their ass out there. The insurrections was whipping them. Stuff wasn't going their way, but they was lying. They was lying. So Leclerc was merely waiting for reinforcements to arrest and deport these leaders. And it was only the strength of the insurrection which was preventing him. And the masses were fighting by instinct. They knew that whatever party the old slave owners belonged to aimed at the restoration of slavery. Yet these new ruling class blacks and mulattoes clung to the tales of Leclerc. And one night, Clairvaux and Christophe were dining with Boudet and Lacroix. And Lacroix asked the two colored men why the insurrection was spreading. "You are European," Christophe told him, "and you are young. You have fought only in the armies of the mother country, and therefore you cannot have any prejudices regarding slavery. And I will therefore speak to you without reserve. The revolt grows because distrust is at its height. And if you had our skin, you would not perhaps be so confiding as myself, who am entrusting my only son, Ferdinand, to General Boudet, and that he may be educated in France. I am not concerned about the brigands who have given the signal for the insurrection. The danger does not lie there. The danger is in the general opinion of the blacks. And those of San Domingo are frightened because they know the decree of the 30th Floreal, which maintained slavery and the slave trade in the colonies restored to France by the Treaty of Amiens. They are alarmed at seeing the First Council restore the old system in these colonies, and they are afraid lest the indiscreet talk that is heard here on all sides should find its way to France and suggest to the government the idea of depriving the blacks of San Domingo of their liberty. Leclerc was now frantic. If the French government wishes to preserve San Domingo, it must, citizen minister, on the receipt of my letter, give orders for 10,000 men to leave at once, and they will arrive in Nevos in order will be entirely established before the hot season, because that day you better come because that flu, yellow fever. But if this malady is to last 3 more months, the government must renounce the colony. And although I have painted such a horrible situation, I ought to say that I am not without courage. And for 4 months now, I exist merely by adroitness, without having any real force. Judge if I can fulfill the intentions of the government. Let me see what that word is. Adroitness. I exist merely by adroitness. 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 Not adroitness. Not address.
Here's the
adroitness. Bitch. Adroitness. You don't get it right. ADR. There we go. Adroitness. The quality of being skillful, clever, and quick in thought or action, encompassing both physical dexterity and mental agility. Adroitness. Cleverness. I exist merely by cleverness. I exist merely by skill, and without having any real force, judge if I can fully fulfill the intentions of the government. The mountain chain from Valeries up to and including the Marmalade is an insurrection, and I will be able to protect the plain only supposing that the malady stops. Malady. Is it malady? 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 Malady. Not melody. Malady. Malady. A disease or ailment. Like my grandmother would say, what'd she say? Not Mijon. You got that. Fuck, I'm gonna remember it. Malady. And I will be able to protect the plain only supposing that the malady stops in the first 10 days of Vendamarli. Since the 8th of Frictador, it has assumed a new force, and I lose 100 to 120 men a day. And to hold these mountains, when I shall have taken them, I shall be obliged to destroy all the provinces there and a great part of the laborers. I shall have to wage war of extermination, and it will cost me many men. And a great part of my colonial troops have deserted and passed over to the rebels. Let the government send me 10,000 men, independent of the reinforcements already promised to me. And let it send them at once by ships of the state and not by merchant vessels, whose arrival is always slow. Let it send me 2,000,000 francs in coin and not in paper. Or let it prepare for an interminable, cruel war in San Domingo and perhaps the loss of the colony. It is my duty to tell you the whole truth, and I tell it to you. The news of the slavery reestablished in Guadalupe has made me lose a great part of my influence on the blacks. And bear in mind also the question of my successor, for I am thinking seriously of quitting this country. I leave this to go back to my bed, where I am hoping not to stay long, and I wish you better health and more pleasant thoughts than mine. And since I am in this unfortunate country, I have not had a moment's peace. My position becomes worse from day to day, and I am in such a miserable plight that I have no idea when and who and how I will get out of it. I had believed up to the present that the ravages of the malady would stop in Vendemarie, and I was wrong. And the malady has again taken new strength, and the month of Fructidor cost me more than 4,000 dead. I had believed that what the inhabitants told me, that the malady would stop in Vendemarie. They tell me today that it may possibly last to the end of Brumerie. Well, these months that they was naming. If that happens and it continues with the same intensity, the colony would be lost, and every day the party of the rebels grows larger, and mine diminishes by the loss of whites and the desertion of blacks. Now Dessalines, who up to now had never thought of insurrection, thinks of it today, but I have his secret. He will not escape me. And this is how I discovered his thoughts. Not being strong enough to finish up with Dessalines, Maurepas, and the others, I use one against the other, and all three are ready to be party leaders, and no one declares himself so long as he will have the others to fear. In consequence, he has begun to make reports against Christophe and Maurepas, insinuating to me that their presence was harmful to the colony. I reiterate what I have told you, and San Domingo is lost to France if I have not received on the 16th Novos 10,000 men who must all come at the same time. I have told you my opinion on the measures taken by General Richepince at Guadalupe. I have painted my position in dark colors, and this is what it really is, and that is the entire truth. And unfortunately, the condition of the colonies is not known in France, and we have there a false idea of the Negro, and that is why I send you an officer who knows the country and has fought in it. And the colonists and the men of business think that the decree of the French government would be sufficient to restore slavery. I cannot say what measures I shall take. I do not know what I shall do. I reply in detail to your letter on the 9th Thermidor. And General Toussaint, I do not lack evidence to bring him to trial. If you wish to have recourse to what he did before the amnesty which I accorded him, for what happened after that period, I have nothing. And in the present state of affairs, his judgment and execution will only embitter the blacks. Now, deportees, I shall continue to send to Corsica those whom I shall deport. In present position, all my army is destroyed. Every day the blacks leave me, and the unfortunate decree of General Richepince. Generals of color, this is a very delicate question, and if the 10,000 men had arrived, I would have no cause to speak to you about them anymore. But the black generals clung to the French, and it was not that Christophe, for instance, trusted Leclerc. Christophe was so nervous that he maintained communication with some of the very insurgents he was hunting down. And as the inevitable forced itself upon him, he took refuge in openly defying Leclerc. And one night, invited to dinner, he would not go until he had his own soldiers placed so as to be able to come to his rescue. And a white officer filled his glass over and over again. In a sudden rage, Christophe turned to him. You puny little white, if I had drunk the wine you poured out for me, I had wanted to drink your blood and the blood of your general too. There was consternation at the table, and Leclerc accused Christophe of treason and called the officer of his guard. Useless to call them, said Christophe. Mine are under arms, and with a single word I can make you prisoner. I remain subject to you as I was to Toussaint. And he had said to me, hurl this island into the sea. I would have done my best. And this is the way I obey or command. He condemned Leclerc for his treachery to Toussaint, whose genius led us from slavery to liberty, whose glory fills the world, and who was now in chains. He called Leclerc a parricide. And it is this crime, doubtless, that the council wished to reward in giving you the government of San Domingo. Leclerc, impotent, sat and took it, but that did not help the masses. And in despair, Leclerc called a meeting of the colonists and generals to consider what was to be done to stop the ever-spreading insurrection. Now the colonists, deaf to all except the memory of the good old days, were unanimous. No slavery, no colony. And Christophe was at this meeting and protested against the policy and the injustice of it and its certain consequences, the destruction of the colony, its loss to France. And the colonists were adamant. Only then did it seem that the black and mulatto generals understood that there was no hope. Yet, as late as October and the military tribunal consisting entirely of colored men tried Charles Belair and his wife and had them shot. They died bravely, both of them, his wife facing the firing squad and refusing to have her eyes bound, arrested by black leaders, condemned and shot by black leaders. It was another slap in the face of the black masses. But Dessalines was now in danger, and he had fooled Leclerc. But he had not fooled Rochambeau, who never ceased to warn the other French officers that Dessalines was not to be trusted. And to maintain confidence, Dessalines had chased and shot brigands with the utmost ferocity. It was now October, and 3 months after he had come to his understanding with Pichon. But afraid of Christophe, Clairvaux, Maurepas, and the rest, he could do nothing, and neither he nor Pichon had the decisive authority that Toussaint or Regard would have been able to use in this crisis. Despite the shooting of Belair on the 2nd, when Dessalines came to see Leclerc a few days later, he sensed that he was in danger, and he affected to be discouraged, and asked Leclerc to send him to France. Leclerc reassured, cheered him up, and told him that new troops were coming from France, and that together they would strike a great blow. Leclerc saw Dessalines trembling in all his limbs at his good news. And there will be an earthquake, he shouted, and left. Crude, coarse, and stained with crimes, he deserved his place among the heroes, a human emancipation. He was a soldier, a magnificent soldier, and he had no other pretensions but hatred of those who deserved to be hated and destroyed, and had sharpened his wits. And he played a great part, and the sands were running out, and Leclerc could hardly struggle out of his bed now to write. And by the time he was writing this last letter, he had an opinion of the blacks very different from that with which he had begun. The state in which the colony of San Domingo finds itself, by the fatal destruction of its army and by the insurrections excited by the decrees of General Richepince and Guadalupe, appears to me so disturbing that I have decided to send you General Boudet. Believe what he will tell you. And we have in Europe a false idea of the country in which we fight and the men whom we fight against. None of your letters announce to me what are the measures that the government has taken to repair the loss of the army caused by the epidemic which continues its ravages. However, since the month of Floreal, my dispatches have continually informed me of the ravages which it has caused, and today my army is destroyed. On the night of October 11th, at the reception given by Pauline Leclerc, Clairvaux, the mulatto, said openly for everyone to hear, "I have always been free, and only now circumstances have enabled me to elevate my revealed color. But if I fancied that the restoration of slavery would ever be thought of, that instant I would become a brigand." And the mulattoes were for the most part hostile to the return of slavery. But despite his threats, Clairvaux still hesitated. It was Pichon who acted and forced his hand, and Pichon was holding positions near Le Cap with mulatto troops. And all these men were only waiting on their leaders. And at Pichon's command, they spiked the guns, disarmed the Europeans, and with a singular humanity which they would soon regret, allowed these to go back to Le Cap. Now Pichon then went to Clairvaux and told him that the colonial troops were in revolt, and that if he did not wish to pay with his head for these defections, the only thing was to join. And then only did Clairvaux join. And together, Pichon and Clairvaux had 3,000 colored soldiers devoted to them. And Leclerc had about 300 white soldiers in Le Cap, and had no suspicions of mulatto defection. But for the vacillation of Clairvaux, a sudden movement would have put Le Cap and Leclerc himself into their hands entirely. And it was the French had time to take the alarm, summon reinforcements, and put themselves in a state of defense. Thus, when Pichon and Clairvaux did make the attack, they were checked. But all white Le Cap was badly frightened, and Leclerc sent over 1,000 blacks on board ships in the harbor to get them out of the way. And when the battle began and he had felt himself in danger, he ordered that they should be drowned. The soldiers massacred them and threw them overboard. Man. Backstab. Dessalines on the west was waiting, and he had been preparing for weeks now, not giving in the arms that he was taking as he had done at first. And as soon as he learned that Pichon and Clairvaux had started, he left Gonaives and set out for Petite Riviere, giving the word to his supporters to be ready to raise the laborers at the given signal. And the priest at Petite Riviere invited him to breakfast, and he went, not knowing the word had already come for his arrest and that he was to be taken at the presbytery. Now, Madame Pagiot, the cure's servant, a mulatto, laid the table and then brought Dessalines a bowl of water in which to wash his hands. And looking hard into his eyes, she pressed his elbow to her sides and then moved them backwards, a sign that he was going to be bound. Already the soldiers were surrounding the house. Dessalines bolted from the door. The cure called to him. He replied that he had to perform some military duty. He sprang on his horse, and followed by his guard, he rode off towards the Artibonite. Ooh, that rain coming down now. Firing 3 pistol shots in the air and crying out, "To arms! To arms!" It had been a near thing. And Christophe still hesitated for a day or two, but on October 14th, he joined Pichon and Clairvaux at last. And the mulattoes in the south still stuck to the French, but in the north and west, the masses now had trained soldiers and leaders. And Leclerc, through illness or bitterness, never wrote this news to his brother-in-law or to the minister. He sent to beg Christophe to come back, promising him honors and riches. And Christophe replied that he was rich and honored enough in possessing liberty himself and in securing the liberty of his color. And on the night of November 2nd, Leclerc died. But before he died, he knew that he had failed and that Saint Domingo was lost to France. And of 34,000 French soldiers he had landed, 24,000 had died. 8,000 were in hospital, and 2,000 exhausted men remained, and Thousands of brave black soldiers were dead for no other crime than that of refusing to be slaves once more. And the colony was devastated. The blacks and whites were murdering each other with a growing ferocity, and in what was called a race war, but whose origin was not in the different colors, but in the greed of the French bourgeoisie. Now, Leclerc knew that, and whatever reinforcements were sent, all was over. But he died, he confessed, but before he died, he confessed his grief over the enterprise undertaken on men and by men worthy of the better fate, on account of the services that they had rendered and still would have been able to render to France. We owe him no thanks for the admission, and it did not in any way mitigate the blood that would yet be shed, and the suffering still to be borne before the people of San Domingo freed themselves from this admonition of murder, greed, cruelty, sadism, inhumanity, let loose upon them by Napoleon and his government in the name of a superior civilization. Unfortunately, the condition of the colonies is not known in France, and we have there a false idea of the Negro. We have in Europe a false idea of the country in which we fight and the men whom we fight against. There, the ex-slaves of the San Domingo Revolution established their affinity with the population of the revolutionary France. And between 1789 and Waterloo in 1815, the people of France staggered Europe and the world with the colossal scope of their achievements in war and in peace. No one had previously conceived that so much power was hidden in a people, and Hilary Bullock has perhaps expressed it best when he said that after August 1792, the reactionary classes of Europe armed against this new monster and set themselves to task to reach Paris and to destroy democracy. The first task, he continues, took them 20 years, and on the second, they are still engaged. We see the same in San Domingo. The population has been transformed, and no one could have guessed the power that was born in them when Boukman gave the signal for revolt on the stormy August night in 1791. Rebellion, war, peace, economic organization, international diplomacy, administration. They had shown their capacity, and now the new nation was to undergo its final test. What happened in San Domingo after Clerc's death is one of those pages in history which every schoolboy should learn, and most certainly will learn someday. The national struggle against Bonaparte in Spain, the burning of Moscow by the Russians that fills the histories of that period, were anticipated and excelled by the blacks and mulattoes of the island of San Domingo, and the records are there. And for self-sacrifice and heroism, the men, women, and children who drove out the French stand second to no fighters for independence in any place or time. And the reason was simple. They had seen at last that without independence, they could not maintain their liberty, and liberty was far from concrete for former slaves than the elusive forms of political democracy in France. Now, Rochambeau succeeded Leclerc, and he was confident of success. And although in the north and west the French held only Le Cap and a few towns, Spanish San Domingo was absolutely quiet. And the great body of mulattoes in the south, especially the rich proprietors, were still loyal. Now Rochambeau, setting out for Le Cap to take command, left the black Le Plume holding command in the south, and Le Plume remained faithful to the end. The French were in a critical position, but Rochambeau asked for 15,000 troops at one stroke to destroy the brigands. Then another 10,000, and finally another 10,000. And these three dispatches are indispensable. A point not less essential for the success of our army is the total destruction or deportation of the black and mulatto generals, officers, and soldiers, and how that black army worried them. And Rochambeau asked to send that rascal Toussaint to the galleys. If he comes here, I shall hang him without trial. And before long, he received 10,000 men from Bonaparte. Also, the fever was abating, and convalescents began to return to their regiments, and Rochambeau captured Fort Dauphin and Port-de-Paix and grew even more confident. And what seems to have confused him was the policy of Dessalines and Pichon. Christophe and Clairvaux were attacking, but blacks and mulattoes had long recognized Dessalines as commander-in-chief, with Pichon as his unofficial second-in-command. Now, Dessalines traveled over the island, reorganizing the local troops, and many of the petty chiefs and rank and file viewed him, as was natural, with distrust. He and Pichon won them over or hunted them down and destroyed them, and Dessalines drilled the raw levies daily, preparing for the campaign on the grand scale. And in the middle of January, Rochambeau asked for authorities to restore slavery at once. Leclerc had not even dared to confide Bonaparte's authorization to him. So utterly opposed were the sentiments of even post-revolutionary France to the reactionary savagery of the maritime bourgeois. Now, while waiting for this authorization, Rochambeau began on his own account to exterminate the mulattoes. They outnumbered the whites, and looking forward to the restoration of white supremacy, he thought it as well to get rid of as many as possible. Now, Rochambeau hated the mulattoes more than the blacks, and one night at Port Republicain, he gave a great ball to which he invited several of the mulatto women, and it was a magnificent feat. And at midnight, Rochambeau stops the dancing and begs them to enter into the neighboring apartment. This room, lit by a single lamp, is hung with black draperies, and which white material figures as skulls. In the four corners are coffins, and in the middle of their horrified silence, the mulatto women hear funeral chants sung by invisible singers. And dumb with terror, they stood rooted to the spot, while Rochambeau told them, "You have just assisted at the funeral ceremony of your husbands and your brothers. The French shot and drowned them, hundreds at a time, and not only shot the rich, but confiscated their property. But by early March, the mulatto South was in full insurrection, but the Spaniards in the West and La Plume still stuck to the French, and Rochambeau received in all 20,000 men after Leclerc's death. But by now, Dessalines was ready." We cannot describe that war in detail. It was a war not so much of armies as of the people. And it was now a war with the racial divisions emphasized the class struggle, blacks and mulattoes against whites. And Leclerc had proposed a war of extermination, and Rochambeau waged it. As late as November 4th, Curvasou, who had served a long time under Toussaint, was confident that the French could still count on the free Negroes and proprietors as much as the whites. But he counted without Rochambeau's precipitancy. And 1 week later, his precipitancy, let's see what that is. Precipitancy, precipitancy.
Here's the definition of precipitancy: rashness or suddenness of action.
But he counted without Rochambeau's rashness or suddenness of action. Rochambeau's precipitancy. Now, 1 week later, his tone had changed, and this is no longer a war. It is a fight of tigers. One has to be in the transport of frenzy to keep it up, and I have to keep on telling the troops. It is no longer bravery I want for you. It is from you. It is rage. But one cannot always be in rage, and humanity makes us weep sometimes. We wept, but we fought. Now, Rochambeau drowned so many people in the Bay of Le Cap that for many a long day, the people of the district would not eat fish, following the example of the Spaniards in Cuba and the English in Jamaica. He brought 1,500 dogs to hunt down blacks. And the day they arrived, there was a fete. F-E-T-E, a fete. Feet. Not that feet. Or a fete. Fete. A celebration, a festival, a fete. I was right, though. In the grounds of a former Jesuit convent, an amphitheater was constructed, and on a certain day, a young black was led in and bound to a post, while the whites of Le Cap, the women in brilliant costumes, sat waiting, and Toussaint had shot Musée and the blacks of Limbe, Dundon, and Plaisance for their hostility to these very people. And to the sound of the martial music, arrived Rochambeau, surrounded by his staff. But when the dogs were let loose, they did not attack the victim. And Boyer, chief of staff in place of the dead Duga, jumped into the arena and with a stroke of his sword cut open the belly of the black. And at the sight and scent of the blood, the dogs threw themselves on the black and devoured him in a twinkling, while the applause ran round the arena and the band played. To encourage them in the liking for blood, blacks were daily delivered to them, until the dogs, though useless in battle, would throw themselves on blacks at sight. I wonder if they still do that shit with these damn police dogs. The French burned alive, hanged, drowned, tortured, and started again their old habit of burying blacks up to the neck near nests of insects. And it was not only hatred and fear, but policy. If France wishes to regain San Domingo, she must send hither 25,000 men in a body, declare the Negroes slaves, and destroy at least 30,000 Negroes and Negresses, and the latter being more cruel than the men. The latter being more cruel than the men. And these measures are frightful, but necessary. We must take them and renounce the colony. And whoever says otherwise lies in his throat and deceives France. And this was the general opinion of the whites. Kill them all off and get new ones who know nothing about liberty and equality. They chained 16 of Toussaint's generals to a rock where they wasted away 17 days. And they drowned old Pierre Baptiste. The wife and children of Maurepas were drowned before his eyes, while the sailors nailed a pair of epaulets into his naked shoulder. And some of the French, it is fair to say, turned in horror from this barbarism. And a few captains of boats refused to drown the blacks handed over to them, but sold them into slavery instead. And some others landed them on deserted beaches of San Domingo or on other islands. And Alix, commander of Port Republican, would not accept 10,000 shot, sent him to tie to the feet of those to be drowned. Rochambeau Banniston and Mazard, another sea captain, worked as hard to save blacks as most of his colleagues to drown them. But these were drops in the ocean, and it was the policy of the Tories that the British followed in Ireland in 1921, not the remonstrances of the Manchester Guardian or the Society of Friends. So it is, and so it always has been. And that's the shit. That's why they scared. They scared. These are some of the things that they scared are going to happen to them. They would hate to see the things that they have done happen to them. Man. I'm going to read one more page or so. Get my stopping point. I'm going to stop right here. Yeah, they do not want the copper colored people thinking in the manner of kill them all and start over. Kill them all, burn it all down, rebuild it, and start all over. They don't want us to think like that. They don't want us to be like what's his name, man? Rochambeau says or thinks. It's not bravery I want you to have, it's rage I want you to have. They don't want us to think like that. They don't want the copper colored people to think like that. That's why they try to keep them dumbed down in television and all this other humbug and tomfoolery. Instead of reading shit like this or learning about shit like this. Yeah, they wouldn't teach this in school. I did not know about, in history class, even though we learned about the Louisiana Purchase, we didn't learn about the insurrections in Louisiana, insurrections in Jamaica, Haiti, Guadeloupe, St. Martinique. We didn't learn about these things. I didn't know anything about Toussaint Louverture until I got older. And then it's just now that I'm really reading about him, honestly. Yeah, they don't want us to have that. They don't want the revolutionary spirit to be cultivated or bubble up in the form of today. They would not want that. They don't want that. That's why they're so scared of the reimbursement of the things that they dealt out. Let's finish up. Let's finish up this last page and a half. Now, Dessalines was a one-sided genius, but he was the man for the crisis and not Toussaint. He gave blow for blow, and when Rochambeau put to death 500 at Le Camp and buried them in a large hole dug while they waited for execution, Dessalines raised gibbets of branches and hanged 500 for Rochambeau and the whites in Le Camp to see. Let me see, what's gibbets? What is a gibbet? A gibbet. What is a gibbet? Gibbets. 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 A gibbet refers to a structure, typically a gallows or a public execution structure from which a body was displayed after death, often to serve as a public warning or to intimidate others. A gibbet. A gibbet. But neither Dessalines' army nor his ferocity won the victory. It was the people. They burned San Domingo flat so that at the end of the war, it was a charred desert. And why do you burn everything? Asked the French officer of a prisoner. We have a right to burn what we cultivate because a man has a right to dispose of his own labor, was the reply of this unknown anarchist. And far from being intimidated, the civil population met the terror with such courage and firmness as frightened the terrorist, and 3 blacks were condemned to be burnt alive. A huge crowd stood around while 2 of them were consumed. Utterly horrible cries. But the third, a boy of 19, bound so that he could not see the other 2, called to them in Creole, "You do not know how to die. See how to die." By the great effort, he twisted his body in his bounds, sat down, and placed his feet in the flames. Let them burn without uttering a groan. And I was there, said Lemonnier de la Fousse, spectator of the heroic deaths of this wretch, greater than Mucius, Mucius Mucius Scaevola, whoever that is. These were the men we had to fight against. Another thrown to the dogs, showed no anger, but stroked them and encouraged them while he presented his limbs to be destroyed. And with the women, it was the same. When Chalvier, a black chief, hesitated at the sight of the scaffold, his wife shamed him. "You do not know how sweet it is to die for liberty," and refused to allow herself to be hanged by the executor. She took the rope and hanged herself. To her daughters going to execution with her, another woman gave courage. "Be glad you will not be the mothers of slaves." The French, powerless before his fortitude, saw in it not the strength of the revolution, but some peculiarity special to blacks. The muscles of a Negro, they said, contracted with so much force as to make him insensible to pain. They enslaved the Negro, they said, because he was not a man. And when he behaved like a man, they called him a monster. And in the spring of 1803, Bonaparte was preparing vast armaments to send to San Domingo during the coming autumn. And with sublime impudence, he blamed the blacks for what was happening in San Domingo. And at the meeting of the institution at which Gregory was present, he said that the friends of the blacks should hide their heads at the news from San Domingo, that the blacks would not docilely submit to be slaves again, was an unpardonable crime, and they wreaked their vengeance on the man whom they considered mainly responsible for their disappointment. And it was Toussaint's resistance which had upset all the calculations. And I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop there. That was, we are almost there, man. We're almost finished chapter 13. We got one more session. The next session will finish chapter 13 tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, when I come back with reading with SHILO, we'll finish chapter 13 up. We got about a little over 10 pages. About 15 pages. Yeah, about 15 pages almost. We got almost 15 pages left, and then we have the appendix left to read. And then we'll be done with this book. We'll have assassinated another one. Well, we would have pirated the sea of pages and rolled it down, baby. I rolled my way through this book, man. Rolled my way through this book. And we'll get on to the next book on the list, which I will, which goes... How many pages in this one? It'll be about the same amount. Which kind of goes with it, I guess. I think this is more like a history book that's taught in school, I think. We'll see what this one is talking about. It's called The Africans in Colonial Louisiana. Africans in Colonial Louisiana. And it kind of coincides. I've never read this. I've been having this book for years, but I've never read it. I just didn't have the want to read it. You know, I mean, I would wanted to glance through it every once in a while, but now that I have been reading about Toussaint, it kind of goes hand in hand with Toussaint, especially when they mentioned places in Louisiana where the Haitians were sent to, or the slaves were sent to, the insurrections that were happening down here, and how they were trying to stop the insurrections down here from coming from Haiti. By, you know, they were trying to quell that shit and cut that snake head off, because they did not want to happen. They did not want what happened in Haiti, or what was happening in Haiti, to be really happening in Louisiana. And it was happening because a lot of the slaves that were coming out of Haiti, and they were letting them know what was going on in Haiti, and they were giving them that spirit to fight in Haiti. I mean, to fight in Louisiana as well. So, and where I'm from, Opelousas, was part of the Louisiana Purchase, which was here during that time, which is crazy to me. You know, once again, this is something that was not taught in history class. So we'll go ahead and go through this one. Opelousas is also, they said, is also the home of the Opelousas Indians. So we'll jump into the Black Indians after this book. So we're going to finish off the Black Jacobins, jump into Africans in Colonial Louisiana, and then we'll start going into these next two books, the Black Indians and the Black West. The Black Indians and the Black West. And after we read these books, after I get these out of the way, then we can start on some of these books. The Terror in the Dome, the Dome of the Outer Space Projection, Terra Infinita. We can start on some of these, which I found interesting. You know, I don't know if it's true or not, but I found them interesting. So being that I found them interesting, I'll go ahead and we'll dive into them. We'll roll through these books as well. But first things first, we got to get through the other ones first. Though these is shit. We got 3 books ahead of these. 3 books ahead of these 3 books. Well, I have 4 books, 4 of these books, but 3 books ahead of these 4. So we'll come to them. I kind of want to go to this Tartaria book. I think this Tartaria book, the One World Tartarians, I think that it's similar. It's going to be kind of similar, written similar to the Africans in Colonial Louisiana, because it's going to be kind of like a history book. But I still want to get into it. I think we'll get into this one as well when we read the Terra Infinita books. All right. There's some other books to be read, but we'll see. Oh, man. Hey, but we're doing good. We're moving along good. We're moving along very nicely. Very nicely. I'm definitely starting to accomplish something I've always wanted to accomplish. That, you know, it's been taking me years to do so. I always wanted to be able to say that I have read every book in what I started as my library. You know, I started collecting books years ago, and some of the books honestly have been misplaced. I still have books on this other wall over here, but they're more, I would say, fiction and children's books, which can be read, and will be read, but we just have to figure out a time. We'll just have to figure out a time to do it. I definitely want to figure out this time to start reading the Children's Hour for so I can get this Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol started going. I already read them to my sons, but you know, I got to figure out a way, man. I got to figure out a way so I can have that camera, so I can have the camera pointing down at the book, because I want the children to be able to see the, you know, when the video is being, you know, done. I want the children to be able to see the pages of the book, so that way they can follow along. They can look at the pictures that are in the book as well and get a better, you know, understanding of everything. Shalom. Shalom, Marcus. Shalom. But we moving along well, though. We're almost done. Like I said, we're almost done. We got about maybe, I would say maybe four more parts. Maybe 4 more parts to the book to actually finish assassinating this book all the way. Make it give up the ghost. 4 more parts. And then we can move on to the next book. So hopefully by this coming week, we'll be finished with this book. And we can move on to the Africans in colonial Louisiana. And then after that one, we'll move on to the Black Indians. And after that one, we'll move on to the Black West. One book at a time, though. Slowly but surely. One book at a time, one part at a time, one session at a time, one episode at a time. Man, one chapter at a time. One page at a time. One paragraph at a time, one sentence at a time, one word at a time, line upon line, until we seek and find the treasures that have been left behind. The stuff that they try to hide from us by putting it in the book, by dropping it deep down into the sea of pages. We'll get to it, Marcus. Yeah, drop down, man. It's time to unearth these treasures. It's time to bring these treasures up from the depths of the sea of pages and see where we can expose the lies and produce the truths. And let the stories be told. Let our stories be told. Let our stories be told. And keep pushing, keep learning, so we can grow and be better. Reading shit, doing shit, making shit, building shit, hunting shit, cooking shit. Being better. That is the objective. As long as you have breath to breathe, then you have all you need to succeed. So let's succeed. And right now I'm succeeding at little, and every little bit that I succeed at creates the bigger picture, will create the bigger picture of what I have succeeded. And to be able to sit back and say that I have read all the books here on my bookshelves and the books that I have up here, it's quite a feat for me. You know, so I would like to be able to say that one day. I would like to be able to say that I've read everything. I just finished the 3rd book with my sons. We just finished our 3rd book tonight. And they ready to start their 4th one, man. They ready to start their 4th one. We'll probably start that one tomorrow with them. So I'm reading all throughout the day. Or not throughout the day, but that's what it seems like now. I've been reading a hell of a lot more. I read to them separately. I read to y'all separately. This, and on top of this, where we have the Sabbath reading tomorrow, or later on today, we have the Sabbath reading. Right after this, since I'm still up and at it, I'll go ahead and do Rising Scripts, where we get into we'll keep going in First Maccabees. Let me see, man. Yeah, we'll pick back up in First Maccabees chapter 9, and we'll read to chapter 9 through 11. Yeah, we'll read 9 through 11. It's about 3 pages, 4 pages. And we're gonna keep pushing. We're gonna keep pushing and reading. We're gonna keep pushing and reading and exercising our mind. There we go, you sorry sucker. I wish I had a lighter back here. Yeah, keep exercising our mind. Because they keep lying to us about shit, man. They keep lying to us about shit. And the only way sometimes that you're going to find out is to read it for yourself. And I know a lot of people don't like to read. A lot of people do not like to read. And I was one of them. I was one of them that didn't like to read. It's not to say I'm better at it now. I'm better at it now. I have more of a liking of it now. But it's still not all the way there. I ain't going to sit here and be like, oh, man, I love to read. You know. A lot of times right now, the reading is for me, but it's also to be the example. It's to be the example for my sons to be able to see the different things that I do, from the carving, from the building of shit, reading, hunting, fishing, things I did, but is more so to show them and have them doing it along, cooking outside, cooking inside, having them help cook. Hey, go stir the pot. Go give me the hammer. Go give me the wrenches. Give me the ratchet. The different things, turn that wrench. All these different things are things that, I want my sons, because I don't know how long I got. Nobody knows, how long they got. And if I wanted to be like how it says in Sirach that, for me to leave an avenger, I have to teach them while they're young. And there's certain things that I want to teach them. So I have to be, a lot of times it's not about what you tell them, it's about what you show them. So I'm definitely trying to show my sons to be better than I was, be better than I am. But in order for that, I have to be better than I was, and I have to be better than I am as well. In many facets. Many facets. I want them to have great minds, strong bodies, beautiful spirits. And these are things that have to be cultivated. These are things that have to be cultivated. For sure, Marcus. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Hey, man, I love when I be reading good. Like I read good tonight. I didn't stumble over a lot. I didn't stumble over a lot of words. I read really well tonight. And let's continue and read really well. So I'm about to end this live. Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your people, man, SHILO out here reading shit. We learning shit. We doing shit. We building shit. We growing shit. We trying to know some shit, baby. We out here. We out here. And after I finish this live, I'm going to immediately cut it off and I'm going to start Rising Scripts for any of those who want to come back and check that out and check out the Maccabees. We'll be reading again. We're going to read for about another hour, probably another hour in the Apocrypha. And we'll read First Maccabees chapter 9 through 11. Stop at chapter 12. It's 16 chapters in First Maccabees, so we'll try to finish it off We might could finish Mac. We'll probably finish first Maccabees off by Monday. By Monday, as long as I stay consistent. For sure. Shalom, Marcus. Appreciate it. Probably finish first Maccabees off by Monday. And then we'll probably finish the Black Jacobins off by maybe Wednesday. Maybe Wednesday. I'm going to shoot for Wednesday. I'm going to shoot for Wednesday on the Black Jacobins. So that way we can go ahead and jump right into the next book, Africans in Colonial Louisiana. Read something about the house where I'm from. What it is. But hey, man, like I said, hey, I'm almost to 1,000 subscribers, man. I appreciate everybody who come in, subscribe, share, tell their people. The first goal was 1,000 subscribers. That was the first goal. And we have almost reached that goal, man. We have almost reached that goal. Rowing, carving, hunting, and fishing. Oh, man. We have almost reached that goal. And let's keep pushing. It's time to keep pushing now. We got to keep pushing forward. 1,000 subscribers. We got to keep pushing to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Up, up, and away. Climb the ladder. You know, who knows what treasures we'll find as we continue to climb the ladder. Who knows what doors will be opened as we continue to climb the ladder. Who knows what minds can be reached as we continue to climb the ladder. Let's be better. You have breath to breathe, so you have all you need to succeed. Let's continue and succeed. So with that, man, this has been part 26. This has been part 26 of Reading with Shiloh. Part 26 of this book, The Black Jacobins by C.L.R. James, the Toussaint Louverture and the San Domingo Revolution. And once again, I love the feel of the book. Oh man, I love the feel of the book. Even though it's a soft, I wish it was a hardback book. I wish all my books were hardback books. But even though this is not a hardback book, I love the texture. They gave it a little texture, man. And I like that they gave it a little texture. Wonderful, wonderful cover, man. Wonderful cover. Them epaulets right here. That's the epaulets that they was in, as we just read, that they nailed to a brother's shoulders, man, on a boat, man. Old Toussaint Louverture. Let's continue to have an insurrection in our minds. Let's continue to burn down the propaganda and the plantations that they placed in our minds. Let's continue to uproot it. Fight for the liberty of our minds. Fight for yourself. And if not for yourself, for those that come after you. Don't allow them to be slaves the way you are a slave, the way we are slaves. Enslaved to bullshit, enslaved to TVs and certain music, enslaved to the shit, man. We have to break away from it. We have to break away from it, and it's up to you. Only you can change yourself. Only you can rearrange and rebuild, allow certain things to be uploaded into your mind. Only you have the power. You can cut the TV off. You can push away from the table if you're fat. You can stop eating. It's up to you. All these things are up to you. The changes are up to you. And some things are harder than others. I understand. Some things are harder than others, but you still have all you need to succeed. You have the capabilities. It's in you. It's in you. So what you gonna do? That is the question. What will you do? I know what I got to do. I got to make changes for myself. You have to make changes for yourself. Start the revolution here. It starts here. Start it in your mind. And push it. Push, push, push. Liberty or death. Liberty or death. Push the revolution in your mind. You never know what can happen. You never know what light can come from it. You never know what treasures you will find, what gifts that you have that you will find out that you have, that you can learn and continue to cultivate and grow. Grow them gifts. Don't hide them gifts. Show them gifts. Let them be seen. I'm out you, baby. I'm out you. Shalom. Till next time. Shalom, everybody. Happy Sabbath, man. Happy Sabbath.